This is the final part for Robot Lamp, and the journey so far has been part 1 where I did the basic modeling, and then part 2 where I modeled the head, and then part 3 where I showed some of the texturing, most of the texturing actually, in Substance Painter. And I'm going to show you some renders now, and I'm going to go into Blender and I'll show you a little bit of the materials that I did, how I set it up. Alright, so here is the final model. Obviously there's a lot more that could be done with with dirt and alpha and scratches and stuff, but I decided to just pretty much leave it like this. And I guess this robot lamp has escaped and is sitting on a concrete block. So I did the bulb in Blender, and I did the body texturing in the concrete in Substance Painter, all very simply. The only thing that I did in Blender for the materials is I added a color ramp on the base color. And I also did a little bit in the compositor. I added some glare for the bulb and a little bit of sharpening. This is rendered in Eevee at 150 samples. There's ambient occlusion on and all the typical stuff. Alright, so just a couple of views of the robot lamp. Just sitting there kind of down. Zooming in a little bit to see the texture. And then I decided I'd show a back view, and then another of the same robot in a slightly different pose. I just moved the parts around as if this one is comforting this one, and I changed the color in the color ramp, and I can show you how that's done. So that's basically it. And if you do see a little bit of sort of a little bit too sharp, that's the sharpening in the compositor. Alright, so let's have a look at Blender. So here's the scene, alright? There are a lot of lights. There are a number of cameras. And having those different cameras allows me to, just quickly choose different poses for my renders. Alright, so I've got that, and just to have a look at the basic materials here. What I'll do is I'll maximize that. And basically what you do is you click on the principled BSDF if you've done materials in Substance Painter, and you press Shift Control T and you find them, and that brings them in. And I just minimized this so that it was a little smaller. But these are all the typical Substance Painter materials. This base color would normally connect to here, and I've just thrown in the color ramp, as I said, but it's got the metallic roughness, normal, and displacement. I didn't do anything else on here, and of course it's UV unwrapped. And this is where I changed the color of the robot itself. Alright, so if I came in here, selected this, and did that, I could get a different color. Alright, so that's how I did that. And for the bulb itself, let's have a look at this. So there are two principled BSDFs going through a mix shader. In the back of the mix shader, and I'll show you how this works in a bit, I've got a Fresnel going into a color ramp. You'll notice that these are switched. And going into the first BSDF, I've got this. I've got a layer weight, but I'm using facing into a color ramp. Like this, into emission. Alright. And by the way, for the second principal BSDF, you'll notice I've got this color and I've got an emission strength of 30. This one is just left default. Alright, so here's my bulb. And let's come over to here first of all. If I move this yellow, just watch in the middle. Not seeing much yet. See the way that yellow has moved into the center as a circle? I'll change the color of this. And see what we can see. So this is a slightly greenish color. It's a little bit hard to tell. So let's look at the other part. This right here. So if I change the strength, obviously, make it 100. It'll get brighter. This color here for the emission. Okay, now you can see sort of the yellow on the inside. Well, I don't know if you can see that. That just gave an effect that I thought I liked. Okay, so there's that. And then in the compositing, I've got just 2 nodes. I've got the glare node set on fog. I just left everything else default. And I put in a sharpen node at 0.1. And I could probably go a little bit lower than that. And that was to, just give an overall sharpening to the model. So there it is with all the lights and the various effects on the materials. And the final thing I did, I should just say, is over here I added an HDR, okay, for overall lighting. And that's it. So there is my robot lamp, and I'm going to call this project done, and we'll move on to something else. So thanks very much for watching. I appreciate that, and we'll see you next time.